Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome on this auspicious day of Deepavali's period where we are celebrating Deepavali and lucky to be speaking from the holy land of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we continue our discussions on this first canto, chapter 9, wherein Bhishmadev is giving his response to the request of Yudhishthir Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatah Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki दान धर्मान राजधर्मान मोक्ष धर्मान विभागश स्त्री धर्मान भगवत धर्मान समास व्यास योगतः दान धर्मान राजधर्मान मोक्ष धर्मान विभागश स्त्री धर्मान भगवत धर्मान समास व्यास योगतः दान धर्मान राजधर्मान मोक्ष धर्मान विभागश स्त्री धर्मान भगवत धर्मान समास व्यास योगतः. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhayacharnarinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He then explained by divisions acts of charity, the pragmatic activities of a king, and activities for salvation. Then he described the duties of women and devotees both briefly and extensively. Hare Krishna. To give charity is one of the householder's main functions, and he should be prepared to give in charity at least 50% of his hard-earned money. A brahmachari or student should perform sacrifices. A householder should give charity, and a person in the retired life or in the renounced order should practice penances and austerities. Those are the general functions of all the ashramas or orders of life on the path of self-realization. In the brahmachari life, the training is sufficiently imparted so that one may understand that the world as property belongs to the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead. No one therefore can claim to be the proprietor of anything in the world. Therefore, in the life of a householder, which is a sort of license for sex enjoyment, one must give in charity for the service of the Lord. Everyone's energy is generated or borrowed from the reservoir of energy of the Lord. Therefore, the resultant actions of such energy must be given to the Lord in the shape of transcendental loving service for Him. As the rivers draw water from the sea through the clouds and again go down to the sea, similarly, our energy is borrowed from the Supreme Source, the Lord's energy, and it must be returned to the Lord. That is the perfection of our energy. The Lord, therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita says that whatever we do, whatever we undergo as penances, whatever we sacrifice, whatever we eat, or whatever we give in charity must be offered to Him, the Lord. That is the way of utilizing our borrowed energy. When our energy is utilized in that way, our energy is purified from the contamination of material inebrities, and thus we become fit for our original natural life of service to the Lord. Raj Dharma is great science, unlike modern diplomacy for political supremacy. The kings were trained systematically to become munificent and not merely be tax collectors. They were trained to perform different sacrifices only for the prosperity of the subjects. To lead the prajas to the attainment of salvation was a great duty of the king. The father, the spiritual master, and the king are not to become irresponsible in the matter of leading their subjects to the path of ultimate liberation from birth, death, diseases, and old age. When these primary duties are properly discharged, there is no need of government of the people by the people. In the modern days, the people in general occupy the administration by the strength of manipulated courts, but they were never trained in the administration, the primary duties of the king, and that is also not possible for everyone. Under the circumstances, the untrained administrators play havoc to make the subjects happy in all respects. On the other hand, these untrained administrators gradually become rogues and thieves and increase the taxation to finance a top-heavy administration that is useless for all purposes. Actually, the qualified brahmanas are meant to give direction to the kings for proper administration in terms of the scriptures like the Manu Samhita and Dharma Shastras or Parashar. A typical king is the ideal of the people in general, and if the king is pious, religious, chivalrous, and munificent, the citizens generally follow him. Such a king is not a lazy, sensuous person living at the cost of the subjects, but alert always to kill thieves and dacoits. The pious kings were not merciful to dacoits and thieves in the name of the nonsensical ahimsa, non-violence. The thieves and dacoits were punished in an exemplary way so that in the future no one could dare commit such nuisances in an organized form. Such thieves and dacoits were never meant for administration as they are now. The taxation law was simple. There was no force, no encroachment. The king had a right to take 1/4 of the production made by the subject. The king had a right to claim a fourth of one's allotted wealth, and one should never grudge parting with it. Because due to the pious king and religious harmony, there was enough natural wealth, namely grains, fruits, flowers, silk, cotton, milk, jewels, minerals, etc. And therefore, no one was materially unhappy. The citizens were rich in agriculture and animal husbandry, and therefore they had enough grains, fruits, and milk without any artificial needs of soaps and toilets, cinemas, and baths. The king had to see that the reserved energy of humanity was properly utilized. Human energy is meant not exactly for fulfilling animal necessities, but for self realization. The whole government was specifically designed to fulfill this particular purpose. As such, the king had to select properly the cabinet ministers, but not on the strength of voting background. The ministers, the military commanders, and even the ordinary soldiers were all selected by personal qualification, and the king had to supervise them properly before they were appointed to their respective posts. The king was especially vigilant to see that the tapasvis or persons who sacrificed everything for disseminating spiritual knowledge were never disregarded. The king knew well that the Supreme Personality of Godhead never tolerates any insult to his unalloyed devotees. Such tapasvis were trusted leaders, even of the rogues and thieves, who would never disobey the orders of tapasvis. The king would give special protection to illiterates, the helpless, and widows of the state. Defense measures were arranged previous to any attack by the enemies. The taxation process was easy, and it was not meant for squandering, but was for strengthening the reserve of fund. The soldiers were recruited from all parts of the world, and they were trained for special duties. As far as salvation is concerned, one has to conquer the principles of lust, anger, unlawful desires, avarice, and bewilderment. To get freedom from anger, one should learn how to forgive. To be free from unlawful desires, one should not make plans. By spiritual culture, one is able to conquer sleep. By tolerance only, one can conquer desires and avarice. Disturbances from various diseases can be avoided by regulated diets. By self-control, one can be free from false hopes, and money can be saved by avoiding undesirable association. By practice of yoga, one can control hunger, and worldliness can be avoided by culturing the knowledge of impermanence. Dizziness can be conquered by rising up, and false arguments can be conquered by factual ascertainment. Talkativeness can be avoided by gravity and silence, and by prowess, one can avoid fearfulness. Perfect knowledge can be obtained by self-cultivation. One must be free from lust, avarice, anger, dreaming, etc. to may actually attain the path of salvation. As far as the women class are concerned, they are accepted as a power of inspiration for men. As such, women are more powerful than men. Mighty Julius Caesar was controlled by Cleopatra. Such powerful women are controlled by shyness. Therefore, shyness is important for women. Once this control valve is loosened, women can create havoc in society by adultery. Adultery means production of unwanted children known as Varna Sankara, who disturb the world. The last item taught by Bhishmadev was the thought process of pleasing the Lord. We are all eternal servants of the Lord, and when we forget this essential part of our nature, we are put into material conditions of life. The simple process of pleasing the Lord for the householders especially is to install the deity of the Lord at home. By concentrating on the deity, one may progressively go on with the daily routine work. Worshipping the deity at home, serving the devotee, hearing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, residing in a holy place, and chanting the holy name of the Lord are all inexpensive items by which one can please the Lord. Thus, the subject matter was explained by the grandfather to his grandchildren. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamcham Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So Krishna, when he was talking to Arjuna, he said it very clearly. Shri Bhagavan uvacha idam tu te guhyatamam pravakshami anusuyave jnanam vijnana samhitam yadnyatva mokshasya shubhat. So Krishna says, my dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you the most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. And then he says, Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyaksha Avagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartuam Avyayam. This knowledge is the education, king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. Now, Krishna had explained all this to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. While Bhishma Dev, he was being asked by Yudhishthir about the principles of religion and so on and so forth. And there he was explaining Bhishma Dev to Yudhishthir Maharaj and in fact all his grandchildren how acts of charity, pragmatic activities of king, and what are the activities for salvation. And then he goes ahead importantly to explain the duties of women and devotees, initially briefly and then extensively. In fact, it is during this discussion that the most important part comes up, which even Krishna had explained to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita 9th chapter itself. Yat karoshi, yat ashnasi, yat juhoshi dadasi, yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva mad arpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you get, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. So, it is duty of everyone to mold the life in such a way that we will never forget Krishna in any circumstances. Practically, we have to work to maintain the body. And Krishna recommends that one should work, but work for him. Everyone has to eat something to do. So we should eat, but what should we eat? We should eat the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna. So any civilized man should perform such some religious ritualistic ceremony. And so Krishna recommends, do it for me. This is Archana. So everyone has a tendency to give something in charity. So Krishna says, give it to me. And this means that all surplus money accumulated should be utilized in furthering the Krishna consciousness movement. We see nowadays, like today we were traveling and in the bus, Someone was speaking how yoga is a world-renowned word nowadays. But then people don't know what actually the yoga is. They are very much inclined to the meditational process. But that is not practical in this age. But if someone practices meditating on Krishna 24 hours a day by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra around his beds, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, is surely the greatest meditator, greatest yogi, and which we understood Krishna explained in 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita itself. But then that is what should be done. Because finally, everything that we are having, whatever energy we are having, it is borrowed from Supreme Krishna. And so it must be returned to Krishna. Regarding Raj Dharma, Bhishmadeva explains, because the major issue which Yudhishthir Maharaj was having is, how can I rule after doing so many sins? So after removing his doubt that these sins were not committed by you, whatever had happened under the instructions of Krishna, he's explaining that now you should rule as per the Dharma Shastras, as per Manu Samhita. Qualified Brahmanas should be there to give direction for proper administration. You should be the ideal of the people in general. You should be pious, religious, chivalrous, munificent, so that citizens can generally follow you. He explains that a king should not be lazy, sensuous person, but alert always to kill thieves and dacoits. The thieves and dacoits should be punished in an exemplary way so that no one would dare commit such nuances in an organized form. And this is exactly what you find lacking nowadays in Kali Yuga. We have rulers, but we are ruled by the people who are not trained in Raj Dharma or Raj Vidya. Taxation was also so very simple. Today we have taxation on taxation on taxation on taxes. But earlier it was very simple. 1/4 of the production made by the subject. 1/4 of allotted wealth. And because it's very fixed that you give it only 1/4 of whatever is your wealth or whatever is your production, nothing more than that. So people would never grudge. Because due to the pious king and religious harmony, there was enough natural wealth. Grains, fruits, flowers, silk, cotton, milk, jewels, minerals, whatever we want. And so everyone was materially happy. But today, we are not happy. Materially, we think, sabka saath, sabka vikas. But we are seeing how few are being penalized by higher taxes and given to those who are not working. Cross-subsidization. That is not what we are taught in our scriptures. The government is designed to fulfill that the reserved energy of humanity is properly utilized. Human energy is utilized not for fulfilling animal necessities, but for self-realization. So the cabinet ministers were selected on the strength of their qualifications, how they can aid in this matter. Even the military commanders, soldiers, they were selected on personal qualifications and not because of some reservation system. The king was vigilant to see that the tapasvis, persons who sacrificed everything for disseminating spiritual knowledge, were never disregarded. Because the kings knew that God never tolerates any insult to his unalloyed devotees. And this is exactly what we miss today in Kali Yuga. And so Kali Yuga has actually become Dukkhalaya Ashashvatam. Yoga was meant to get your connection back to Krishna. So the principles of lust, anger, unlawful desires, avarice, bewilderment, they have to be conquered. so that there can be salvation. To overcome anger, you must learn how to forgive. To overcome unlawful desires, we must know that planning is not our activity. To overcome insomnia or sleep, spiritual culture had to be developed. To overcome desires and avarice, tolerance has to be developed. Disturbances from various diseases can be avoided by regulated diets. False hopes, money, they can be removed by self-control. Hunger, worldliness, they can be avoided by culturing the knowledge of impermanence. Dizziness can be conquered by rising up, and false arguments can be conquered by factual ascertainment. People nowadays talk a lot. Talkativeness is there everywhere, and that can be avoided by gravity and silence. And prowess can avoid fearfulness. Perfect knowledge can be obtained by self-cultivation. And then Vishwadev talks about women, how they are actually a power of inspiration for men. In fact, they are more powerful than men. And Prabhupada gives the example of Cleopatra, who could control even Julius Caesar was so mighty. And the powerful women, they in turn are controlled by shyness. So shyness is very much important. But the moment that is lost, there is havoc in society. Varna Sankara. That gets promoted. And that is why the Vedic system of Varna and Ashrama is very, very important. And most important for any human being is how to please the Lord. And Bhishmadev explains the process of pleasing the Lord. Jivera Swarupa hai Nityera Krishna Das. We are all eternal servants of the Lord. But the moment we forget this essential part, we are put into material conditions of life. So, the simple process of pleasing Lord would be to go back to this system where we understand that we are the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Dasanu Dasanu Das. So, especially for householders, it is recommended that they should install a deity in their home and they should worship him. They should concentrate on the deity, continue in the daily routine at work, but worship the deity at home. Serve the devotees who are coming there. Hear the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Reside in holy place and chant the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Now, is this expensive to be done? No. Very easy. So, when Bhishmadev is talking about important aspects. 1, worshipping the deity at home. 2, serving the devotees. 3, hearing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. 4, residing in holy place. And 5, chanting the holy name. So, amongst this, the 4th comes, residing in holy place. Prabhuji, we stay in a city. We cannot go and reside in holy place. Our children are here or our work is here. So, how can we go there? But then the name of holy place, Dhama, is that the place where Krishna is established, that is holy name. So the moment you have deity installed at your home, a pran pratishtha done, it becomes a holy place. The place where Krishna name is taken, that becomes a holy name. Because Krishna Nama, Krishna Avatara. So your home actually can become the holy place. And that is what is recommended to be done. So the moment that becomes a holy place, we have the deities, we have to serve the deities. And the moment we have deities, definitely they are Sarva Akarshe Deity Krishna. So even if you have, say, Jagannath Baljo Subhadra Mai Sudarshan Bhagwan at home, Jagannath is the Lord of the universe. So he attracts with his big eyes, which are ready to see everyone. So slowly people will start coming to take their darshan. So you can serve the devotees. We can arrange hearing of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. If we are not confident of the classes, we can ask them to join every day at 8 p.m. and online we hear. And most importantly, chanting the holy name of the Lord. Minimum 16 rounds is what Srila Prabhupada has recommended. So you can always do much more than that. And amongst that 16 rounds also, every day at 7 a.m. in the morning and 8:30 in the evening, we are doing one round. So besides this collective 2 rounds, we just have to make efforts to do 14 more rounds. And that also is possible. Because nowadays at 4:35, we are starting the Zoom sessions where we start and collectively chant all the 16 rounds. So it is not at all difficult to please the Lord. So this is what was subject matter which was explained by the grandfather to his grandchildren. And all the queries of Yudhishthir Maharaj was resolved to his satisfaction. The crux of the matter was that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no one who is different. He is the one who is there in front of us right now. So we should serve, we should try to please him. Whatever be our occupational duties of different orders and statuses of life, we should fulfill them. We should always remember. So this is something which will be coming in the next shloka as well. How sun's course ran into the northern hemisphere. So that is the period when we still desire to die, and that is where now we'll see how Bhishma Dev is going to leave his body. But then we should concentrate on acts of charity. We already saw Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they being the ideal examples of how the wealth should be distributed. We should be eagerly involved into the objective of human life, which is to achieve Krishna Prem. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Now I welcome everyone who has joined us for the chanting session. Please repeat after me. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.